When most of the world thinks protein consumption, I think it's safe to say that they probably think about chicken, beef, or fish. But in developing countries, protein is supplemented in ways we Americans might think is a bit unusual.
In this week's Bottom Line, Neil Melancon shows us how one person's pest is another person's profit.
The Bottom Line is brought to you by the Cotton Board, strengthening the fiber of our industry.
This week's Bottom Line is about turning ants to appetizers. That's right, I said ants.
Last week, a group of food entrepreneurs from Latin America came to the LSU Ag Center in Baton Rouge to develop new ways to market their farm products to the United States. Among them was Fernanda Charlotte, whose company Bechu is attempting to market ant larvae to the 12 million Mexican nationals living and working in the U.S.
We want to promote for all the restaurants here, and we want to sell to the restaurants.
Charlotte says ant larvae is a delicacy in Mexico, shared by, as she put it, everyone from peasant to the president. Her company hopes to market the larvae as a little taste of home, particularly to those Mexicans who work on U.S. farms. Last week's conference saw food companies from Chile, Colombia, Peru, and Mexico, the so-called Pacific Alliance, enhancing their marketing skills as a part of a program sponsored by LSU's Louisiana Business and Technology Center. Commodities such as rice, fruits, and insects, including crickets, all have a market here in the U.S. according to the backers of the program. But as with all imported food products, there are challenges.
Politics comes in there, and you may have heard we do have free trade agreements with all of these countries, but there are still other barriers that could keep a company from actually doing business here.
Last week's program was the first step for nearly all of those looking to make inroads into the U.S. market. Of course, food safety issues, a quality product, and a reliable source of those products will all factor into whether or not your next meal includes white worms rather than red meat.
The bottom line this week is that food is where you find it. In countries like Mexico, as in many Asian countries, insects make up a large part of the diet. And while we here in the U.S. might be a bit squeamish when it comes to ants, crickets, and the like, these insects make up a large part of the protein needs for those who otherwise wouldn't have ready access to chicken, pork, meat, and fish. And Mike, Kristen, while I know you guys may be a little freaked out right now, they said they're selling as many as 5 tons of insects to Mexicans here in the United States, but they have the capacity to increase that up to 45 tons over the next 18 months.
And I have to ask you, which is what everybody's asking, how do you prepare ant larvae?
Well, according to Fernanda, she and her company find the best way to do it is like a stir fry. You put in the ant larvae, you put in a little onion, you put in a little vegetables, other vegetables, cook it up with some oil, and it comes out, you're just cooking like a king, or as the case may be, a queen.
I'm going to do it for me.
I got that. And of course now the $64 question. Okay. How do you harvest ant larvae?
Well, as Fernanda says, very carefully.
Indeed, Neil, that is an understatement. Well, be sure to join us for next week's edition of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, when we'll show you how a trip to a prison is a good thing for Louisiana farmers and ranchers.
Until then, you can watch any of our stories and even some of our online exclusives on our website, twilatv.org. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
For Kristen Oakes and everyone here at This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Michael Dana. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope to see you again right here next week.